Had shots there at the end for Penn State and wins the game for them. You guys go up to Wisconsin and play good defense on Decker at the end, and you get up a shot and it doesn't go in. You know, Shannon at Michigan State, the ball's on the rim, doesn't go in, but you know, it's that far.
Right.
How much do you, I think maybe it's more about the players, but would you have felt good coming off that game at Wisconsin, even if Decker's shot goes in? Because of maybe you saw some things that you like better, or is it that much of a difference, an inch here or an inch there, win or a loss, completely changes the whole world for everybody?
Well, I think a little bit of both. I'm glad the shot didn't go in. You know, I think that what we tried to do was look at the Wisconsin game and say, okay, what did we do really well? Why did we do it well? What did we do poorly, and how do we correct it? I think that's, you know, in what we're doing now, or in terms of in the Big Ten season, every game is like that. It's just a brutal challenge, and you know, you think about the games that have come down to the wire like that. It's good to see one kind of go your way.
Do these guys look? How different did these guys look to you coming back after the game? You know, just again, obvious.
Yeah. I mean, louder bus ride, louder plane ride. You know, I think that's in a lot of ways that's why you do it. I mean, it's the gratification sitting there and hearing those guys happy that makes it. And then our job is to say, why are we happy, and how does that apply to the next game, and you know, those types of things. But yeah, it's a rough go, and you know, to come back and go on the road and get a win was obviously a relieving feeling.
Coach, after the Penn State game, Lindsell said the guys were kind of lulled into believing that everything was fine after they'd beaten Illinois. And just curious, with you have already played Iowa and they've beaten you, how you don't think that complacency could even remotely enter their thinking after this game against Wisconsin, and maybe approach it a little bit differently.
Yeah, I think you know, we're halfway through the Big Ten season, and I hopefully guys have a true appreciation for what it takes to compete every night, the level that you have to compete, the mental state of mind that you have to have every possession of every game. And you know, I think from the standpoint of where we're trying to go in terms of with Iowa. Iowa's a great basketball team. There's no question about that. Things that we didn't do well in that game, we did not take care of the basketball. We had 17 turnovers. We gave them easy shots in the paint. We gave them easy shots in transition. I mean, those are the things we're showing our guys, saying, hey, in order to win this game, we have to alleviate some of these things.
The other thing I'd ask is about the link that they had on that zone. Seemed to give you guys a lot of trouble. Maybe you were a little tentative with the shooting and attacking. The players said that that's something you guys are going to try and change.
Yeah, I mean, they do have some length in the zone, and you know, after the game we made a lot of changes, so hopefully we'll be a better zone offense team tomorrow night when we see the zone.
Kind of along the lines of what Steve was just asking, obviously you faced Iowa, lost to them, and you've coached a lot of teams. I'm sure different things motivate different teams. Could revenge be a motivating factor for this team?
Well, you hope that it is. You know, I think that's one of the things that about conference play that is so challenging is you know, you win or lose. You know, there's got to be that element. I don't think, you know, tomorrow night guys will be thinking like, hey, these guys beat us last. It's more, what do we have to do to win the basketball game?
You mentioned me at the midpoint of the conference season. What do you make of this league this year? I mean, Michigan State maybe separated themselves a little bit, but everybody else is in a glut of 3, 4, 5 losses. Northwestern, I mean, no one saw that coming. They're 4th in the league. You know, Penn State and Nebraska are beating teams. What's your take of 2014 Big Ten?
Yeah, I mean, it is probably as with all the parity in the standings right now, it's probably maybe as challenging as I've ever seen it, just in terms of you know, teams are losing at home, usually doesn't happen. You know, the quote-unquote bottom of the league is obviously, they can beat anybody in this league on any given evening. So it definitely makes for, just the brutality of what you go through every single night.
Also wanted to ask regarding Iowa, is there I know you like to get out of transition when you can and get easy baskets. Is there a fine line with them because they push
Right.
it so well? Is
Right.
there how's that balance?
Yeah, it's tough. I think that, when we have the opportunities to score off of our defense, deflection stills, maybe a long rebound, you want to do that. But by the same token, I think you've got to have discipline to run your half-court offense and run it the right way. But knowing that when we shoot, that they're looking to come and they're, they're coming at a fast pace, and we didn't do a good job in game one in terms of getting back and establishing our defense the way it needed to be.
That despite winning at Wisconsin, you fall out of the top 25 today. Is that a blow? Do you still feel like you're an elite team, or do you consider the source, since that's the reporters, 25?
Yeah, I've never been one to pay a whole lot of attention to it. I've always said this, I'd like to be there in the end in terms of that, but it sort of is what it is, and for us, rankings never won us a game, especially in the Big Ten. I know that for a fact, but hopefully we can continue on a good straight road and get back in there.
Ed, when you guys go through a lull in a game, is there a common thread? Is it always something, or is it something different all the time?
Yeah,
I just
it's.
wonder how much of a handle you can get on things.
It appears to be a little bit of a different scenario each time. Maybe it's shots aren't falling, or we're not defending the way we need to defend, or we've missed some free throws, but it's not. I can't find the common theme and say this is exactly what happens, fellas. We can't let that happen.
I don't know how else to say this, but is it easier for this team maybe to get discouraged than a lot of teams you've had? When things don't go well, is it harder for them to rebound perhaps than?
Yeah, it seems like that at times. It really, really does. But I think a lot of it has to do with just the situations that we've put ourselves in. I like the fact that Saturday we were down 8 in the first half, 7 or 8 in the second half, and still found ways to come back and win the basketball game. I thought that we finished the game, we made plays that we needed to make down the stretch to win the game, both offensively and defensively, and we hadn't done that through the stretch at the level that we needed to.
I want to ask about Trey. He came off the bench in the first half, gave you guys some really good minutes in place of Amir. He had a nice finish on that between the legs pass by Shannon.
Mm-hmm.
But Amir then came out in the second half and played well down the stretch. Is that kind of like what you're expecting from one?
Yeah, I think Trey is doing a great job for us, and he had a very good way about him going into that game. I think from the standpoint of him sort of understanding when my number's called, this is what I need to do, and I need to do it very effectively in terms of helping our basketball team. And he's put a lot of work in, and you like to see him play at the level he played at, and hopefully he can continue with that.
Do you think Amir kind of like felt a little threatened by that? I mean, because he came out and played hard in the second half.
Yeah. You hope that's what. He sees that and says, "Hey, I need to play at that level," and that's the beauty of having all the practices, all that stuff, where guys are seeing guys get better, and it hopefully challenges them to do the same thing.
I think I know how you're going to answer this question, but there's kind of a prevailing theory out there that if you guys had been tested more early, maybe you wouldn't have had some of the problems you've had in the Big Ten. Is there any validity to that at all, or is that? I mean, it's an easy thing to say now, but
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how anybody could solidify and say, that's the problem. I think in the games that we played early, we saw a lot of different challenges. We were playing at a pretty high level in terms of those games. But I also believe that, I've always said this, I said it earlier, there wasn't a time last year in March where I said, oh, the Duke game. It's like, no.
Yeah.
What do we have to do at this particular point and who we're playing? And, when the Big Ten switched from 16 to 18, our non-conference schedule picked up Michigan State and Wisconsin. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It is kind of what it is. We don't have a ton of control in terms of like the Big Ten ACC challenge. They give us that game and kind of tell us who we're playing.
The other question is, I mean, this team has got a lot of veteran guys who've been through a lot of tough games, so I would think that would be less of a factor. Would that be more of a factor if you had a team with a bunch of freshmen and sophomores maybe who breezed through the non-conference schedule and then all of a sudden got to the Big Ten and went kind of thud?
Yeah.
Would that be a different situation than with having Aaron Kraft and Wenzel and guys who...
Right. Yeah, no doubt about that. There's no question about that, because I think that, I remember many years ago when Jamar Butler was a freshman and the look in his eye at his first Big Ten game, he was like blown away, and to his credit, he was a tough kid and played his way through it. But I think that's been the thing that has made me scratch my head a little bit in terms of with a veteran team and the positions we've been in and some of the losses we've had, that we haven't been able to fight through it. But with that said, I think we're playing against some really good teams.
I know that the guys the guys talk about the freedom you give them offensively to just find their way and feel free out there. In general, over this stretch, what have you thought of the guys and the balance between being confident, taking shots early in the shot clock when they have it, versus being reluctant, versus don't be too aggressive and take 5 shots? And you see like a guy like Amadeo, sometimes it feels like he gets rolling. We made an NBA 3 and then he starts driving to the basket, and sometimes it's great, and sometimes maybe it's not great. Like, what do you think of the whole balance with a guy like that and anybody?
Yeah. Well, obviously, if it goes in, it's a great shot. That's simply said. But, I do want our guys to play with great confidence. But, and I've said this before, with confidence within the system of what we're trying to get accomplished. When you start to play teams for a second time, you start to play, the scouting is so high level now that you don't get the easy things that you normally get. And that's where, you've got to grit your teeth a little bit and say, okay, hey, I've got to screen. We've got to deliver the pass on time, on target, and setting your teammates up. And I think that's what, as you, and I've always said this about the NCAA tournament, like, you have to be able to score in half-court defense or half-court offense. And that's kind of the level we're at right now. And that was maybe the biggest difference for us in the second half. I thought in the Wisconsin game, we did a good job with shot selection. We did a good job of finishing, knocking down the shots. Aaron and Shannon's threes in the second half were huge. We've had those before. We had them Wednesday night, and they didn't go down for us.
Regardless of whether he starts or not, or at least on Saturday, Shannon played probably more than his average. He played almost 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But is there an advantage specifically against Iowa tomorrow night? You were talking about their length. They're 6'6" at the 2 guard, they're 6'9" at the 3. Is there an advantage playing a longer lineup against them?
Yeah, there is, I think, in terms of that. But I think, both Aaron and Shannon are so good defensively, mm-hmm. even with the size. I mean, the job that both those guys did fighting the post, and, on Saturday, both guys with the switching we were doing were pretty effective in terms of what they needed to do. And, I like, against that size, sometimes crawling up underneath of them and trying to make them uncomfortable.
Did that have anything, the length you had on Marble the last game, or lack of, have anything to do with how well he played in that game?
You know, it might have, because he hit some very, very tough shots, like in the paint, you know, a couple floaters and, you know, turnaround. Yeah, really, really made some tough shots. I thought even White had some challenging finishes over us that, you know, were big-time shots.
Just building off the Wisconsin win, is there a sense that, you know, maybe stringing a couple wins together here could really get the ball rolling as far as confidence, or is that never really an issue?
No, I hope so. I mean, that is the plan. It just it's a lot easier said than done, reeling a couple off. But you know, that's hey, we went in, we won a tough game. You know, you think about the game before that comes down to the last shot. This one comes down to the last shot, and I'd love to not be in that position. It's making me old, but you know, it is what it is. I liked the last 8 seconds, the defense that we played, and you know, when I hit pause on the tape, and guys were in the right position, and I liked the energy we had in the huddles down the stretch. You know, guys talking, guys saying, "We got to do this. We've been here before," and that was, you know, you hope you can build on that.
Go ahead.
I was just a curiosity question. Right before that, when the crazy play with Lenzel going down.
Never seen anything like that.
That's what I said. That's a first.
I'm just wondering, are you good with him? I mean, he's got a layup there, taking a layup there, or in that situation, I mean, he's being instinctive. Would you rather have him just dribble because the clock is?
Yeah, it's hard because, you know, you're not out there, you're not seeing what he sees, and that's the beauty of watching tape and saying, like, God, there's nobody in front of him. You know, go for it. I mean, my mind had already shifted to, okay, we got a 3-point lead. You know, I was going to probably take a timeout, set our defense so we could set our press, and then the debacle took place.
Was he trying to draw up contact?
The
Russ
debacle.
Coming up behind him? Did you ask him?
I didn't ask him. No, I did not ask him.
What did it look like to you?
I think he was. I think he knew he was coming behind him.
Because he had a dunk, right? You would think.
That's not even a sure to anymore. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Coach, then you hugged Diebler and all was right in the world. Was there a man crush on Diebler, or was he the first guy?
He was the first guy I could find. Because I had the line on Decker's shot, and I thought it was off to the right. And you know, I'll be honest, I had seen what these guys had done. I knew what the staff had done to get us ready to play that game, and you know, there was obviously, with the ending the other night, there was a sense of excitement, a sense of relief, but no man crush.
Yeah, Clay stole my question, actually, but another post-game observation is you had a little bit of an elongated conversation with Bo, and I know he's been good to you over the years. Can you share any of that, or do you even remember what was said there?
Yeah, you know, I don't. I'm trying to think, because it was just more along the lines of, like, wow. You know what I'm saying? I was just on that end the other night, and they're kind of in the same position. I know what he's going through in terms of you know, his instincts. He's a competitive guy and wants to win, but I don't remember per se the exact conversation.
Do you find yourself looking down at the other coach much during the game?
I don't.
Just curious if Bo's antics ever annoy you like they seem to annoy Ohio State's fan base, or if you find it entertaining, or...
Yeah, I've never really noticed it, to be honest with you. No. All right, guys.
All right.
Thanks.